Terraria has a lot of meme weapons: the copper short sword, the lawnmower, flare gun, sand gun, pearlwood, but wait, the sand gun? The sand is OP. It says it right there. I decided to play the entire game start to finish with only the sand gun as a weapon on master mode to prove that. Quick thing first though, what is the sand gun? It's kind of obscure and forgettable. Honestly, most people don't even know it exists, and even people who know it exists probably haven't used it. It is a devious tool made from crime, poaching, and that thing you get to make imagoluminescence. It shoots sand. It's a sand gun. But I don't start with a sand gun. I start with sand, and that's enough because guns don't kill people. I kill people. To get the antlion mandibles, I drop sand on antlions to kill them. Technically, you could find a bunch of mining potions. You'd need about 15 on average and shimmer them to get 10 mandibles, but I don't hate myself that much. I snatch a boomstick from the jungle to get an arms dealer. I get his happiness up by putting him in the desert with a nurse, and I become the proud owner of one sand gun. To actually get ammo, I start destroying the desert. If you place a torch or a rope just underneath a line of sand and break a block so that it falls, the sand all gets quickly destroyed. Find a desert, find the bottom of the sand, and you'll have hundreds, if not thousands, of blocks within a minute or two. 30 base damage. That's pretty high for a pre-boss weapon. The Demon Scythe's base damage is 35, the Phoenix Blaster's base damage is 30. The Sandgun doesn't get any bonuses from ammo. It actually gets a penalty because sand deals -1 damage, but this is a lot of damage. On top of that, it shoots very fast. With a use time of 16, it's hitting around 4 times per second, and it isn't as heavily affected by defense as weapons like the Boomstick and Mini Shark due to the high base damage. That's the good part, but I can't ignore the sand. Just so much sand. When you hit an enemy or a block, the sandgun shot turns into a falling sand projectile, the same one that spawns whenever you make sand blocks fall. Yes, it can hurt you. Yes, it can kill you. However, falling sand is a block, and you can't put a block and furniture in the same spot. This is why sand breaks when it falls on a torch. They can't both exist there, so one of them breaks, and torches are considered more important. This isn't true for every object. Statues, for instance, will break instead of the sand. But what happens if the sand doesn't fall because it would be created inside of the object? Well, the falling sand never spawns. The projectile just gets deleted. On the one hand, that means we don't get the ammo back. On the other, it means sand doesn't pile up. I used torches, ropes, and coins at first, then started using planter boxes because the flowers that grow from them will also block sand. Okay, so if sand falls on a torch, it breaks. If sand would spawn inside of a torch, it never spawns. There is a third option. The sand spawns on top of the torch and gets supported by the object without falling. This is pretty awkward and can really screw you over, particularly with normal-sized enemies because they're just the right height for the sand to get placed 2 blocks up. You can pile up coins or ropes or just aim carefully to avoid this. In a prepared arena, I can mostly avoid placing sand. Out in the world, I'm not as lucky. I can kill isolated enemies easily enough. Remember, the sandgun does do a lot of damage, but with crowds I'm better off just ignoring them. I can't ignore everything though. A random blood moon was really a struggle as I had no defense, low HP, and nowhere to fight. I threw together a makeshift area with torches, but it was pretty messy with a lot of sand piling up. You might be thinking to yourself, this doesn't seem overpowered. I mean, it's good damage, but this is a ton of jank to deal with, and the payoff is mediocre. And you would be right. With normal sand, the sandgun is good, not fantastic. But by collecting vile mushrooms, I can craft vile powder to turn sand into ebon sand. Any biome sand, ebon sand, crim sand, or pearl sand, deals 5 extra damage and pierces infinitely. Mechanically, that means the projectile only turns into falling sand when it hits a block and not when it hits enemies. And remember, if there's an object on top of that block, it never turns into falling sand, letting us completely negate the sand buildup. With a setup like this, we have a high damage, infinitely piercing weapon that attacks quickly, and the only downside is that we can't shoot downward through platforms. This is how you use the sandgun effectively, and it annihilates the Eater of Worlds. I'm not even playing very well here. I didn't realize I couldn't shoot downward at it, and I should have put more space between my platforms, but it doesn't matter. It deals so much damage so quickly and has no damage fall off for hitting multiple targets. There's no sand buildup, I'm not hurting myself, it's just a fantastic option. Then I take out the eye, this time using regular sand, and it is just shredding through that health bar. I blaze right through the Skeletron, I was pretty much doing these fights back to back to back, and kill him in 2.5 minutes. I haven't even done a goblin invasion yet. My Sandgun is unreforged, and it is just shredding through every challenge it faces. Speaking of reforges, the Sandgun is comically cheap to reforge, so getting Unreal is very easy. The dungeon itself was a bit messy though. I couldn't prepare it ahead of time, and I did have to kill enemies for keys, but I set up an impromptu spot with ropes to grind out some angry bones. I got kinda cocky at this point with how easy the last 3 bosses were, and barely prepared for Queen Bee. I mean, I didn't even set up a platform. I just slapped down some ropes to block sand. That was a mistake. I don't have great mobility since I can't actually combine accessories yet, nor is my defense fantastic, and she puts out some serious damage, and I didn't set up anywhere to dodge that damage. But I've never met a bee that could best 300 metric tons of sand in a fight. I only struggled here because of the complete lack of arena preparation. The Sandgun was dealing good damage, and it pierced through her bees pretty effectively. Oh, and that goblin invasion finally showed up, and that's what infinite piercing does to a goblin invasion. There aren't many weapons with infinite, long-range, lossless piercing. Most only pierce a certain number of enemies, like the Demon Scythe or Aquaceptor, or lose damage for every enemy you hit, like whips or jester's arrows. It's a very powerful ability. Due to unforeseen circumstances, I was unable to actually use the Goblin Tinkerer, so I went ahead and fought Deerclops. This is the one boss that the Sandgun isn't very good for. Normally you want to run under her legs, and, well, she is above her legs, so sand is constantly falling on her legs. You can use Ebon Sand, but she has a lot of HP, and it's actually going to consume a lot of ammo to do that. And, of course, my lack of mobility, because I can't use the Goblin yet, and my less than ideal defense wasn't helping. Still killed her, though. Sand is good. And the Wall of Flesh, well, the Sandgun has similar stats to the Phoenix Blaster, which is great for the Wall of Flesh, and it has infinite piercing, which is great for the Wall of Flesh, so yeah. As far as pre-hard mode goes, you can genuinely pick up the Sandgun within the first hour of playing and use it comfortably for every boss. So when does that stop? It was good for pre-hard mode, and it has a good base damage, meaning it's not going to get shut down by defense in hard mode like a lot of weapons will. When does it stop being good? Is it good on wyverns? Hell yeah, it's one of the best options you have. I can fall from the top of the world, shoot upward, and kill a wyvern well before I even hit the ground. Is it good on regular enemies? No, it's actually pretty bad, but as long as you've got good mining speed, you can just ignore those guys. The bosses? Well, it has infinite piercing, so yeah, it's good on the Destroyer. I was not playing that well, and the fight took a lot longer than it should have, but it doesn't matter, I was very comfortably able to kill him. Okay, but he's a worm. Skeletron Prime died pretty easily. We had several minutes to spare. I don't even have a damage-focused build. I've got an emblem and a wrath potion, but that's it. The twins were pretty easy too. I wouldn't go so far as to say the Sandgun is good for these bosses. Like, if you're struggling on the mechs, don't make a Sandgun to kill them, but for a weapon that you can get easily before any bosses, it's really putting in work. Plantera is where we're starting to fall off a little bit. The damage is passable, but it's really not great, and it's all downhill from here. Golem is a slog, an easy slog, but a slog nonetheless. I get Shrumite armor to buff my damage even more. I would describe my build as bad. I'm basically just using whatever accessories I happen to find. The only reason I didn't use a Magiluminescence on the Moonlord is because a Mimic dropped a Philosopher's Stone as I was building my arena. I annihilate my deserts with maximum mining speed to get a stockpile of pearl sand, along with shimmering a bunch of ale from the Tavern Keep to be absolutely certain that I have enough sand for the Moonlord. You can get infinite sand by just buying and shimmering ale if you're ever concerned about ammo. I started fighting Duke Fishron, but I was really not interested in doing this fight, to be honest. I started getting bored at Golem and more or less checked out here. I messed up a couple times after 15 minutes, died, then moved on to the Cultist, who was also a drag to get through. This is the boring part of the game, it's just slow fights with a clunky weapon. Infinite Piercing lets you farm Stardust cells effectively, so I handled that pillar without much trouble. Similarly, I could take out Queens in the Vortex pillar using the sit in the ground and shoot upward through a hole tactic. I can then fire artillery from long distance. Pushing it upward. We're building a wall. God. The Solar pillar, as you might imagine, sucked. The Nebula pillar, as you might imagine, sucked. For the Moonlord himself, I do need to counter his self-healing. For those unaware, if you have the Moonbite debuff while his tongue is out, he will send back healing leeches that heal him for 1,000 each unless killed. The easiest way to avoid that healing is to dodge the tongue, so I set up an asphalt bridge. Using a swiftness potion and medium food buffs, I'm fast enough when running to dodge it, avoiding the heal entirely. With that problem solved, I just have an hour-long fight. It's not that exciting. I can kite him to the left to avoid the True Eyes in Phase 2, then jump whenever the tongue is on cooldown to hit his core, because otherwise it's below the asphalt. I fall back when it comes back out, after 5 seconds, and just loop that, teleporting back at the end of the bridge. And that is a very impressive performance for a weapon that you can get at the start of the game. It took me 16.5 hours to beat the game, and I was not trying to go fast by any means. The Sandgun might sound like a joke gimmick weapon, you write it off because it looks silly, but it is a devastating powerhouse if you know how to use it. You'll want to set up arenas that break the sand or prevent it from being placed. Using a corrupted sand is ideal since they deal more damage, pierce, and don't get placed upon hitting an enemy, but you can't get that sand as easily. Using powders to corrupt desert is an option. You could also sit AFK and farm ebon sand by shooting with an ammo reservation effect like fossil armor. Remember that you can't shoot downward through platforms, so you'll want to position yourself below or horizontal to your enemy. Try to use as few platform layers as possible, especially against worm enemies. It'll take you through pre-hard mode without much trouble, and if you're comfortable fighting against them, it's decent enough to take out the mechs. You could skip straight to a Mega Shark, Flamethrower, Light Discs, or Hollowed Repeater instead of getting early hard mode weapons. I wouldn't use it past that point unless you just want to have some fun with the Sandgun. It falls off around Plantera. Well, that's it for this video. I'm going to do a little giveaway to close things out here. Leave a comment to be entered for a chance to win 3 tons of sand delivered straight to your driveway.